This is episode 3 of
Why pay for a therapist when you got anime?
And today we're going to be talking about love languages, specifically what I think each member of the Straw Hat crew's love language is. Also, if you stay towards the end, I'll tell you who I think will be joining the Straw Hats next alongside their love language too. So let's start off simple for anyone that doesn't know. Also, once again, I must preface that this is by no means medical advice. I'm just a psychology student that loves anime. What is a love language? The concept of love languages was introduced by Dr. Gary Chapman in his book The 5 Love Languages, The Secret to Love That Lasts. Love languages are the different ways people express and feel affection. It's like an emotional language. For some people, they can say, I care about you with words. For others, it's easier to show it through specific actions. Imagine trying to express affection in a way that doesn't resonate with the other person. It's like speaking French to someone who only understands Japanese. Chapman believed that understanding love languages could improve relationships by helping people communicate affection more effectively. He had broken everything down into 5 main types of love languages: words of affirmation, acts of service, receiving gifts, quality time, and physical touch. In relationships, friendships, and even in pirate crews, everyone has a unique way of showing and receiving love. These love languages shape how we connect with others and how we build stronger bonds. So what do these love languages mean, and how do they work exactly? To answer that, we're going to break them down one by one and match each with one or more of our lovely Straw Hats. Let's explore how their quirks, actions, and relationships with each other reflect these love languages, and maybe even give you a new way to think about the crew. So we'll start with words of affirmation. This love language is all about verbal communication. People who resonate with words of affirmation feel love through compliments, kind words, encouragement, and general verbal appreciation. People with this love language love hearing things like, I'm so proud of you, I care for you, and just genuine, sincere communication. For these people, negative or hurtful words can be especially hurtful. In my opinion, we have 2 crew members that thrive on encouragement and heartfelt words: Usopp and Chopper. Usopp is all about verbal expression. Whether he's telling wild stories to make others laugh or attempting to get credit for his own contributions, his words are how he connects. For someone like Usopp, communication is key. When he is giving love, he can be seen hyping up his friends and motivating them when they're down. From reassuring Kaya, Usopp is always supporting others through his words. When he's receiving love, he hopes to be validated the same way. He's excited when others look up to him like the kids on the island. He tells stories to make people revere him. In this random moment, Law called Usopp God, and you can see how excited he gets by being acknowledged. And it makes sense even why he needs it. We touched on Usopp being the bravest pirate in all of One Piece and what his true dream is in the other video here, but truly from the start of the story, Usopp wants to be validated in his strength, not just as a fighter, but as a friend. He craves and strives to be valued. And Chopper is very similar. Chopper might as well be the words of affirmation king. This little guy adores compliments. The level of giddy he gets when he's complimented is second to none. And as the doctor of the crew, he has always been one to comfort others with positive words. Just like Usopp, who wants to be revered as being as brave as the giants, Chopper wants to be revered as the best doctor and is elated whenever he is acknowledged for this. If you have a partner or friend or family member with this love language, your relationship with them might benefit by sending a random sweet text to remind them that you love them, acknowledging their accomplishments, especially the small ones, and expressing gratitude. All of these things can go a very long way. They might not be as animated on the outside, but I'm sure if you were to do this, they'll look like this on the inside. Our next love language is acts of service. Unlike Usopp and Chopper's love language, this one is all about showing love and care through actions rather than words. Individuals that resonate with this love language express their affection by doing things that make someone else's life easier, more comfortable, and better. It's not about grand gestures, it's about thought, effort, and the basic intent behind the actions. That's what really matters. If you have this love language, you maybe love cooking for people, you may like fixing things or taking care of others, not because you're obligated to, but because this is how you show your care. Your actions come from a genuine place, and it doesn't result in any resentment. If someone who has this love language is blocked from, failed at, or even turned away from providing their act of service, they may feel extremely rejected. I feel like there are 2 Straw Hats for this love language that are really obvious, and I love that they both have it because of how much they bicker amongst each other. Sanji and Zoro. As much as they like to compete against each other, these 2 really are 2 sides of the same coin. But I think there's a 3rd Straw Hat also that shares the same love language: Jinbei. But we'll start with Sanji. Sanji is the epitome of this love language. From a very young age, his whole character revolves around serving others, cooking for his mother, cooking meals for the crew. As the crew chef, he cooks not just to nourish them, but to show his care and dedication. Sanji tailors meals to each of the crew members' tastes and dietary needs. He's decided in his heart that if someone is hungry, he will never deny them a meal. He puts love into his food, to the point that he doesn't even use his hands to fight because of how much he respects his craft, because of how much it means to him to express his care care through this act of serving. And his acts of service often extend beyond the kitchen. He's willing to risk his life to help those in need. Sanji risked his life to protect Barotse, to show gratitude for the place that gave him a home. He sacrifices himself on Whole Cake Island to protect Zeph. He's always there for his crew. His acts of service are driven by gratitude and compassion, and this is just how he gives love. It's also how he receives love, through the same love language. Like when Luffy wanted Sanji to come back to him, Luffy decided that he will refuse to eat unless Sanji cooks for him. And similarly, Zeph starved himself to protect Sanji when he was a child. An act that grew Sanji's love for Zeph to a whole nother level. Despite all the bickering with Zoro, you can see that Sanji trusts him to handle situations and cares for him deeply because he can rely on him. Him, like Zoro, though never seek out acts of service, when someone does something thoughtful for Sanji, it catches him off guard and leaves a lasting impression. So now let's look at Zoro. Someone who doesn't need anything but loyalty and teamwork to reinforce his love and belief. Someone who respects those like Sanji and Luffy who can carry their weight and contribute to their mission. Zoro joined the crew off of the strength of camaraderie. The first act of service he received was when Luffy helped set him free and supported him in whatever he was dealing with. Ironically, even though Luffy is the captain of the ship, he promised to be in service to Zoro from the beginning of the journey. Basically telling Zoro, hey man, like if you're with me, I'll make sure I give you the space to follow your dream as you become the greatest swordsman there is. Luffy offers his service to Zoro of being someone who is reliable enough to allow for Zoro's dream to come true. And on the flip side, Zoro serves Luffy by being someone that protects the crew. Luffy never micromanages Zoro and lets him serve as a protector with full confidence. And as if we needed a bigger example of an act of service, there's this insane moment where nothing happens. What a moment in the show, and a selfless act that speaks volumes for how clearly acts of service is Zoro's love language. He literally took all of Luffy's pain upon himself without any expectation or resentment, just pure love and care. And here is a moment we also get to see the flip side again of Zoro receiving love through acts of service, because when Sanji comes in and offers to share the burden, even though Zoro denies it, it strengthens their bond and trust between each other. So what about Jinbei? There's something interesting to say about the idea that the three strongest pirates on the crew, next to Luffy, all have the same love language. With great strength comes great responsibility and a self-awareness about what it could mean for others. Jinbei, like every Straw Hat, has a good heart and wants to protect and care for his allies. He is loyal and selfless. Look at how he sacrificed himself to protect Luffy and Marineford, or when he stayed behind on Whole Cake Island. Just like Zoro, he is willing to shoulder the responsibility of others and risk his own life. Even before he hailed Luffy as his captain, he served him with love and honor. And just like the other two, he is touched by loyalty. When the Straw Hats stand with him in the face of danger, he is visibly appreciative. So if you have someone in your life whose love language is acts of service, let them cook you a meal. Or maybe even better, cook them a meal. They don't ever expect it from you, but they sure as hell will appreciate it. Protect them from a marine, let them take care of you, and never skimp on loyalty. It'll go a long way. Before we move on to the next love language, I wanted to talk about the idea that in real life and in One Piece, love languages aren't always so rigid. So far, we've discussed characters who I feel like very strongly represent these love languages, but there can be crossovers. Some people may have 2 love languages, some people might have 3, some people might even have all 5, and that's okay too. These languages aren't designed to pigeonhole anybody into one box. Some of us might grow into different love languages over time, some of us might be a blend, and all of that works. As far as One Piece goes, there is one character I thought about who definitely felt like they were better represented as a blend than just one category like the others. And that character is none other than Franky. To me, has a combination of acts of service and words of affirmation. On the acts of service side, I feel like him being the individual that built the Thousand Sunny for the Straw Hats, while catering so many little details to his crew. I think you can kind of see clearly why acts of service lines up with Franky's personality. I feel like the Thousand Sunny is the most obvious example. Franky didn't just build a ship, he built the dream ship, a vessel capable of taking the Straw Hats all the way to the ends of the Grand Line. With all the little details like a mini going merry, it's not just a ship, it's a symbol of his love and belief in their dream, and him being the shipwright gives him a similar role to Sanji, an individual whose job lines up with serving the ones he loves and the ship he loves. On the other side, I feel like words of affirmation also really works for him. He's proud of his creations and loves hearing the crew praise his work. When they gush about the Sunny or his inventions, you can see how much it means to him. His larger-than-life personality lights up when his efforts are recognized. Also, Franky is always encouraging and hyping up his friends, from all the way back to before he was even a part of the Straw Hats. Franky's combination of acts of service and words of affirmation exclamation makes sense because of his background and personality. He's a craftsman who takes pride in his work, so his actions naturally reflect his love for others. At the same time, he's deeply connected to the idea of being appreciated and valued for who he is. For Frankie, it's not enough to just do something for the crew. He also thrives when they notice and acknowledge his contributions. In my opinion, he's a perfect blend of these two love languages, making him one of the most expressive and heartfelt characters in the crew. Now let's move on to our next love language, receiving gifts. I feel like you already know where this is going, but let's break it down anyways. Unlike most people assume, this love language isn't about being materialistic. It's a language that's all about thoughtfulness and the intention behind the gift. For people who resonate with this love language, a gift serves more as a physical representation of love and care. The gift doesn't need to be expensive. Even a small gesture like a handwritten note can hold significant emotional weight. For those individuals, forgetting special occasions or providing thoughtless gifts can make them feel neglected. And this perfectly represents Nami. Nami's connection to gifts stems from her backstory and values. She grew up almost in poverty because of the Arlong pirates and learned to appreciate resources. Her love for gifts isn't just about treasure, it's about what the gift symbolizes to her. When she was trying to get away from Arlong, she didn't want the money just for money's sake. Money to her represented freedom. That's why receiving gifts is what helps her feel loved and valued. Nami's weapon, the Climattact, was a gift from Usopp, a weapon designed specifically for her abilities. Sanji's meals for Nami can be seen as an act of service from Sanji's side, but Nami can appreciate the value of it as if it's a gift she's receiving. Throughout the series, she is shown appreciating and having her love communicated through the idea of receiving gifts. I mean, look at her face every time she sees gold. And funny enough, as greedy as she comes across, she does end up enjoying sharing the gold with the crew and even going as far as taking care of the finances in general, making sure that the crew spends money on the things that they want and need. When you look behind the layers of this subtext, you can see how much she genuinely loves the crew, because otherwise she definitely wouldn't be sharing the money. She is thoughtful and caring, and this can be understood better when you understand her love language. If you know someone whose love language is receiving gifts, make sure you try to get them something thoughtful. It doesn't have to be expensive. Just remember, even a small random gift can brighten their day. Okay, we're at the second last love language. So let's talk about quality time. Quality time is pretty self-explanatory. It's all about spending quality time, giving the person your undivided attention. People who resonate with this love language appreciate meaningful interactions. It's about presence and enjoying one another's company, having shared experiences, conversations, and activities. These moments are valued as a way to strengthen bonds. For an individual with this love language, divided attention or lack of company can make them feel undervalued. So who does this love language align with perfectly? Nico Robin. Robin's reserved nature and intellectual depth make her someone who connects during intentional moments. She values company and thoughtful conversations. From her days in Ohara as a child, she has always loved spending time amongst her loved ones, and it's no different with the Straw Hats. She's not loud or forward about her emotions, but she will always be seen quietly smiling, just enjoying sharing their life and dreams together. And there's a lot of moments that acknowledge this. Look at how much she enjoyed spending time with Saul when she was younger. When she tries to push the crew away in Ennis Lobby, she's attempting to get away from them because she wants to deny herself of the enjoyment she has spending time with them, until they all come together and bring her back in a beautiful scene. You can see her sharing moments with Chopper when they're just reading. Robin is always present and soaking in the laughs, and this can be seen really easily on the flip side too. She loves teaching and sharing her knowledge, generally just making sure she's always a part of important conversations. And honestly, this fits so perfectly with her, because I feel like the people of Ohara were the same, enjoying meaningful conversations and spending time with one another, something that was ripped away from her as a child, but she got back when she met the Straw Hats. If you have someone in your life whose love language is quality time, it's simple. Put your phone down and hang out with them. Share an intentional conversation. Just enjoy each other's company and don't be shy to do it. Finally, we're at our last love language, physical touch. This language is all about expressing and receiving love through physical gestures. For people that resonate with this love language, actions like hugs, pats on the back, and other physical gestures convey a sense of care and connection. This isn't limited to romantic gestures, it's about building bonds through physical touch. Physical touch can serve as a way to communicate love and support without any words at all. For someone with this love language, a lack of touch or distance can make the person feel isolated and unloved. And I think the two that fit this bill perfectly are Monkey D. Luffy and Brook. Brook is honestly perfect for this because of how often he wants to look at your panties.
No way in hell!
While his skeletal appearance makes this an unconventional love language for him because he's bones, it still plays a significant role in how he connects with others, often as a means of breaking barriers through humor. There's this scene with Shaki where Brook has a crumb on his skull face and she takes it off for him. The dude literally explodes as a reaction. Physical touch is definitely a big love language for this perverted skeleton, however touch-starved he may be. Physical touch reflects his journey of isolation into connection really well. He spent years by himself. It only makes sense that my guy needs a hug. And now we finally make it to our captain, Monkey D. Luffy. And although him and Brook share the same love language, Luffy expresses it way differently. Where Brook is trying to see panties, Luffy puts physicality to the forefront the same way one would do on a sports team, whether it's through playful roughhousing or aggressive pats on the back or using his rubber body for fighting. Luffy always drapes his arm around his crew in celebration. He playfully tackles his crew, pulls Usopp's nose, and other random playful interactions. Luffy expresses his content and pride through physical touch. When Vivi was overwhelmed, Luffy grabs her hand. He even uses fighting to express his love, sparring with his crewmates, or finding respect for adversaries through nothing more than physical expression. He might not be able to say much, but Luffy definitely doesn't skimp on expressing his love. If you have someone in your life whose love language is physical touch them in a non-Brook consensual way though, please. But no, really, just give them a hug, hold their hand, pat them on the back. I promise you they will be elated. If you stayed this long, thanks for being here, and I'd love it if you continued staying with us on our journey. So please hit that subscribe button, like, drop a comment, and now let's talk about who I think might be the next Straw Hat and what is her love language. I'm talking about Jewelry Bonnie. I have a feeling, just based off how the story has been going, that Jewelry Bonnie will have a big role to play in the coming episodes. Now granted, she might just end up being like Law and accompanying the Straw Hats, but with the Kuma backstory and her current involvement with the crew, I feel like she could be our next member. So if she is, what is her love language? Based off what we know so far, I think she mainly falls under quality time. I think she's a bit different than Robin in the sense that she's louder and more forthright, but I still think that under that more rugged exterior is a character that just craves sincere connections and company. What do you think? Do you think she'll join the Straw Hats? What's your love language? Which Straw Hat do you connect with the most? Tell me your thoughts in the comments below, and like always, if you've enjoyed this breakdown of love languages and One Piece and want more anime therapy content, or want to be just tapped into all things anime and awesome in general, hit that like button and please subscribe.